Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Russian military forces still pounding away at civilian areas in Ukraine as huge numbers of Ukrainian refugees escape from their home country. While the world is focused on Ukraine, negotiations are wrapping up on an Iran nuclear deal. We're going to hear about concerns that this one could be worse than the original version. Plus, from the air, anger is becoming the new norm for many Americans.
Anger is so harmful for the things like, will you water your neighbor's plants when they're on vacation? And that it hurts people. I mean, it hurts neighborhoods and it hurts families.
We take a look at how to diffuse the problem. Then later, get a first-hand look behind the scenes of the United States Marine boot camp.
It's very intense, but it needs to be because of the fact that we are a fighting organization.
All these stories and more are coming up next from the CBN Newsroom.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin with the fighting in Ukraine, and despite a Russian announcement of yet another ceasefire, Russia is keeping up its attacks on civilian areas. Dale Hurd is on the story.
While Russia declared a ceasefire overnight to open humanitarian corridors for civilian evacuations from Kyiv and other major cities, it continued its offensive, hitting residential areas with shelling and rockets. The State Department says it has confirmed reports that Russia is deliberately targeting civilians in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky warns that Russian plans to use high-precision weapons to destroy Ukrainian military-industrial facilities will kill even more civilians, saying hundreds of thousands of people live and work there. This will be premeditated murder. For a second day, an evacuation from Mariupol was called off because of intense shelling. As many as 200,000 people trying to leave the city. The UN has confirmed nearly 400 civilian deaths. More than 1.5 million people have now fled Ukraine, with at least 1 million going to Poland.
Most of them are just very, very tired, terrified, and confused because they don't know what to expect.
Meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal reports Russia is recruiting Syrians skilled in urban combat to fight in Ukrainian cities. The U.S. and NATO have ramped up efforts to help Ukraine. But while President Zelensky pleaded again for a no-fly zone in a Zoom call with U.S. senators, Republican Marco Rubio said that's a non-starter for the U.S.
Today, that means the willingness to shoot down and engage Russian airplanes in the sky. So basically, a no-fly zone, if people understood what it means World War III.
The U.S. is providing real-time intelligence to Ukraine, and the New York Times reports more than 17,000 anti-tank weapons are being sent to Ukraine from other nations. The U.S. has reportedly given Poland the green light to give Ukraine MiG fighter jets, and the U.S. has not yet agreed to send Poland U.S. planes to replace what it might send to Ukraine. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. is in active discussions with European allies about banning Russian oil, though no decision has been made yet. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Our senior international correspondent, George Thomas, is with us now from Lviv, Ukraine. So, George, there is some controversy surrounding the details of this so-called humanitarian corridor. What's going on there?
Yeah, President Zelensky of Ukraine basically called Russia's attempt of getting people out of these danger spots like Mariupol, Kharkiv, the Kherson region as immoral. And here's why, because the Russians say that these Ukrainians can escape to Russia and Belarus. So in essence, this corridor is not to other Ukrainian cities, but instead the corridor goes all the way north to Belarus, or all the way east to Russia, or all the way south to Crimea. The Ukrainians say that's absolutely ridiculous.
Now, you had the chance to travel outside of Lviv this past weekend. What's the mood in the outlying towns?
Yeah, just to echo the reporting that my colleague Dale Hurd just put there in the piece, this idea of urban warfare. In fact, as of early December, the Pentagon had already been shipping in the various kinds of weapons that would allow the Ukrainians to engage in urban warfare. As I said, I went outside of Lviv this weekend, and you drive down the main arteries of the city, and you see these side streets going into these small villages, and every one of them, Ephraim, is they've put up sandbags, they've put up concrete walls, and you've got civilians who are manning these posts. That what I saw, they were armed with AK-47s and other weapons. You get the sense that this is going to turn into an urban warfare. And right now, the Russians are using missiles and their fighter planes. But when it comes to controlling the country, you have to be in the streets, the cities, the streets like this one. And the Ukrainians are preparing for the potential of urban warfare.
George, this weekend, people at the Armenian church in Lviv took down a statue of Jesus. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. In fact, this was the first time ever that the statue of Jesus came down at the Armenian church since World War II. And in fact, let me just show you, it's something that we're seeing all around this historic city. Right here is a major statue. It's one of four in the heart of this cultural center. And in fact, this particular statue dates back to the early 1800s. So what authorities have been doing these last few days is basically taping up these historic statues as a way to preserve them, because the reality is that, in fact, we just walked a few minutes ago from another very, very old church. They've been putting up these this mesh and this metal protective on the stained glasses to make sure that they protect these very important cultural as well as religious sites here in Lviv.
All right. Thank you, George, preserving their history there. Thank you so much for reporting for us from Lviv, Ukraine today. While the world remains focused on Ukraine, a major geopolitical event is also unfolding in Vienna, where the world powers are reportedly close to signing a renegotiated Iran nuclear deal. As CBN's Chris Mitchell reports, some are concerned this version is worse than the original.
After 11 months of negotiations, Israel's chief takeaway is alarm.
We look to Vienna and we're deeply troubled by what we see. For Israel and all the stability-seeking forces in the Middle East, the emerging deal, as it seems, is highly likely to create a more violent, more volatile Middle East.
They said that they were going to get a longer and stronger deal. This deal will be shorter and weaker.
Just days before an expected announcement, former State Department advisor on Iran, Gabriel Noronha, released information provided to him by current State Department officials.
My former colleagues I worked with, who were really so distressed by what they were seeing that they asked me to go public with these details, because they said that Congress had not been informed and the American public hadn't been informed, and they were just so worried with the concessions that were being made by the negotiating teams that they felt that they needed to say something about it.
Noronha says the deal clears the way for a nuclear Iran.
Unfortunately, they're not getting any of the sunsets on Iran's nuclear restrictions lifted or extended. And so in only 9 years, Iran will have a clear path to a nuclear weapon. The American people need to know that this deal is illegal. It is dangerous to American national security. It's dangerous to the regional and global security in both the short term and in the long term.
Russia, a key player in these negotiations, wants written guarantees from the U.S. that sanctions from its war on Ukraine will not stop its trade with Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Bennett met with Putin on Saturday in Moscow about the war in Ukraine, although it's expected they discussed the nuclear deal and Russia's ongoing support for Iran. The deal would also reportedly provide billions in sanctions relief to Iran.
There are no restrictions in this deal on how that money will be spent and fueled to Iran's proxies. So we can expect that a lot is going to go to Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis. And so we're going to really see over the next few years, it might take a few months to get going, we're going to see a rapid proliferation of terrorist activity. We're going to see more destabilizing activity, and we're going to see Iran's influence and power grow in the region.
That power represents an existential threat to Israel.
Let me be clear. Israel will not accept Iran as a nuclear threshold state. Israel will always maintain its freedom of action to defend itself.
Israel's pledge to defend itself, along with Iran's nuclear ambition, puts these two enemies on a collision course for war. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, there's a growing trend with many Americans becoming enraged. Find out what can be done to combat all this anger when we come back.
Before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Rage has become the new normal. Whether it's aboard flights or at school board meetings, Americans are angrier than ever. Some blame the pandemic, while others fault the deep political divide. Whatever the cause, the constant conflict is undermining our relationships, our communities, and even our democracy. Charlene Aaron brings us this look at what can be done to diffuse the anger.
It's official. Our national mood has turned sour, with a recent poll showing more than half of Americans angry about the state of the country. After seeing it play out on the news or across the dinner table, many say it's time to end the rage and heal the wounds. From fights in the air to angry outbursts at school board meetings.
My children will not come to school on Monday with a mask on. All right? That's not happening. And I will bring every single gun loaded and ready.
Outrage has become the new normal.
There's no end of provocations that are playing a part in this.
On CBN's The Global Lane, Peter Wood, author of Wrath, America Enraged, blamed pandemic restrictions and other issues for the rise in tempers.
The arrival of large numbers of people on our Mexican border, the backing up of ships off the West Coast and East Coast trying to deliver goods here, the unleashing of inflation into the mainstream economy. Each of these has brought the temper of mainstream Americans to a near boil.
Stats tracking the conflict over mandating masks for airline passengers tell the story. The FAA reported almost 6,000 cases of unruly passengers last year, a big jump from the 146 complaints filed by flight crews in 2019. Differing political views often the driving force. According to Betsy Sinclair, a political science professor at Washington University in St. Louis, the problem has been building for some 30 years.
If you ask people, how angry are you feeling towards the opposite party? Or how frequently do you feel anger towards the opposite party? We're seeing basically 70% of Americans are reporting tremendous volumes of anger.
In a research paper on the subject, Sinclair points directly at politicians from both parties and how they use mistrust and anger to their advantage.
candidates and campaigns have manipulated the emotion of anger to generate loyalty. So we often, we quip that a loyal voter is an angry voter, but anger motivates people to take political action. It motivates people to vote.
Sinclair adds that unrestrained anger can threaten democracy, which relies on healthy social interactions between people who disagree.
We find in our research paper is really that it's the case that anger is so harmful for the things like, will you water your neighbor's plants when they're on vacation? And that it hurts people. I mean, it hurts neighborhoods and it hurts families.
As businesses face supply chain and staffing shortages, upset customers have been taking out their frustration on essential workers. Some restaurants are posting signs encouraging diners to be kind. John Cooper of the Christian rock band Skillet says while believers should stand up for biblical values, showing grace to those who disagree with our stance is vital.
Grace has to be us Christians being willing to tell the truth, but not treating our enemies the same way that they treat us. Recognizing that what we really want is for those people to come to know this amazing Lord that we know.
In her book, The Habits of Unity, 12 Months to a Stronger America, One Citizen at a Time, Elaine Park provides key anger management tools.
You can be in a space with someone whose views on a certain topic are entirely different from yours. Shift the conversation. Say, I respect your opinion.
As an antidote, Sinclair suggests civic engagement. Her recently created app, Magnify Your Voice, encourages partisan-neutral involvement in local communities.
There's so many things that we can do that go beyond our partisanship to take care of our basic humanity. And I think that is what matters the most. People are going to disagree about their politics, but they're going to care about each other as a community. And we have to have both things.
Meanwhile, Park believes spreading positivity can spark a unity revolution to help America heal.
Unity is not going to trickle down. We need to bubble unity up from the humility of our own hearts and souls. And be humble when we look in the eyes of another person, no matter what they think.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Still ahead, get a first-hand look at the sweat and tears it takes to make these Marines American warriors. Stay with us.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
The United States Marine Corps is known as America's 911 force. These warriors are described as being the most ready when the nation is the least ready. Mark Martin traveled to boot camp in South Carolina to find out exactly what it takes to become a Marine.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
Before dawn in Parris Island, South Carolina, young men and women engage in rigorous physical training, or PT. And as the sun rises, there's no morning coffee or break for these Marine recruits.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's part of a 13-week boot camp designed to transform civilians into an elite fighting force. Parris Island was officially designated a Marine Corps recruit depot November 1st, 1915. Today, more than 4,000 recruits are in training here at any given time, and installation leadership expects to train around 20,000 each year.
It's very intense, but it needs to be, because of the fact that we are a fighting organization. Not all of us are in fighting MOSs, but we are warriors. So they instill that intensity inside of you.
It's 13 weeks of hard training, back to back, countless hours of just sweat and tears.
I think that it really pushes you to your limits in terms of how far you can go, how far you think you can go. The drill instructors definitely push you.
Marine Corps drill instructors, we know what we're doing, bottom line.
Drill instructors like Staff Sergeant Evelyn Espinal are a key component in the making of Marines. Each phase involves close order drill, physical training, and academics, plus learning the core values of honor, courage, and commitment.
The Air Force comes and visits us, the Army visits us, the Navy visits us. They come and they learn from us. They try to see the way that how we operate and what we do to transfer these Marines, because obviously we're doing something right.
CBN News followed a group of educators experiencing the raw intensity of boot camp. It's a program designed to give teachers and counselors a first-hand experience so they're better prepared to help students considering the military. Chuck Johnson says he gained newfound respect for Marines, including his son.
It was top-notch. This educator workshop was fantastic, and it allowed us as educators to take a behind-the-scenes look that you can't get from word of mouth, to actually be present at the moment, and then see the same type of things that he went through.
Marine Corps recruits are trained and challenged physically, mentally, and morally. The combination produces the foundation of the character of a Marine.
I want to say that we're very selfless. Our brotherhood and sisterhood is really important to us.
The goal is to break you down and build you up into a mentality of a team mentality, a more productive citizen mentality where you're proud to walk around and be who you are. You're proud to carry yourself a certain way.
Both leaders tell CBN News one of the challenges in forming the next generation of Marines is an entitlement mentality in recruits.
I think breaking them out of the "it's all about me" mentality is one of the harder things that the drill instructors have nowadays.
Nowadays, kids, they're, babied by their parents. They spend all day at home on their phones and they don't really play outside no more. So when they do get hurt, they're not used to that. They're not used to getting right back up. And if they do, it's probably recorded or something. It's just an entirely different generation.
Still, Espinal says although this makes her job tougher, the end result is the same. And even though it's complicated at first, she's very proud of every Marine she pushes through. Another complication has been the pandemic.
Instead of being able to get up and close with a recruit, I had to be 80 feet away and still screaming, and I had to scream with a mask on.
One big change here, not related to COVID, is the formation of integrated companies with both male and female platoons.
We've always known our female Marines were just as capable as male Marines, but to eliminate any kind of stigma saying like your training was different than mine, I think it was like, this is to show you that we're all doing the exact same training, and it's proven to work really, really well.
And the Marine Corps will have to integrate even further. The 2020 National Defense Authorization Act calls for Parris Island and Marine Corps Recruit Depot San Diego to eventually train males and females side by side at the platoon level.
Do I agree with it? No. I don't think males and females should be sleeping in the same squad mate. That should be separate. There should be privacy when it comes to that. So I hope that doesn't happen.
For now, they train in separate platoons, and the goal remains unchanged. Receive the iconic emblem and become one of the few, the proud, the Marines.
Proud. I'm overwhelmed. I'm
just proud. Everything he's done. I mean, he's an Iron Man. He's the strongest. I'm just proud. I'm just so proud.
It's awesome. He's accomplished things that I haven't accomplished myself, and I watched him grow. The growth is incredible.
Mark Martin, CBN News, Parris Island, South Carolina.
Stay with us. Your Monday Motivation is coming up right after this short break.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Download the CBN News App, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
Welcome back. Time for your Monday Motivation. Here's the word to remember as we begin another week. God's forgiveness is only a breath away. Open your mouth, ask for it, and receive it. It's yours for the asking. But now it's also important that you freely give what you freely have received. With that word, be sure to make today a marvelous Monday and be sure to have yourself a wonderful week ahead. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com, and reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.